me in a minute. Yeah, it's recording. Okay, let's kick off then. Yeah, so thanks to those that have joined. Today is going to be just a bit of insightful info around SAP Cloud Platform, warts and all really. So I've got a few experts on the line with me. So if there are any questions that come out, feel free to ask. You'll get a pretty honest response on some of the subject matter. So yeah, what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to walk through the topic of innovation and design thinking. It's going to be very, very quick because we're covering a lot here. So we're also going to talk about moving away from what we describe as the on-premise Fiori Launchpad onto cloud. And then we're going to touch on some cloud services that are out there. Not that many customers actually use them, but they're going to become more and more popular. And then we're going to look at simplifying the IT landscape with something that's called HANA Cloud. So I'll let Vikash run us through that stuff, including architecture. We'll touch on master data services available in the cloud platform. And then again, we'll come back to Vikash. We're going to show some stuff around Qualtrics and explain what it is, what you can do. And then we're going to do some rapid build of applications. And then finally, we're going to talk about the Fiori client. Obviously, this is going out of support by SAP and the options around that, because it probably will have a little bit of the ripple when it comes to how that's going to affect businesses. So yeah, basically this hour and a half is completely informal. I haven't really rehearsed anything apart from put some slides together many moons ago. Yeah, we attended an SAP user group event, a virtual event called Digital Insights not so long ago. We didn't do any speaking slots, but during each of the demos, we did some demonstrations. And really, the reason why we thought we'd throw this webinar together is because during the demos, when people were meant to be having breaks, we got quite a bit of demand from people to actually show it again. So that's exactly what we're doing. So we're just showing various topics within the cloud platform. We'll probably finish before an hour and a half, so people will be very pleased. But you've got the right guys on the phone here from Bluestonex and online. So as we go, raise your hands in team. There's a little hand icon, and then we'll try and get to those questions as and when. Okay, so for those that don't know us, Bluestonex, the X is a clue in the name. The X is for innovation and user experience. Based in Shropshire, of all places, so we're very kind of close to the North Wales border, kind of between Liverpool, Manchester way. That's the best we explain it. Yeah, and what's different about us? We've got to focus on innovation, so plug in the gaps within SAP technology with some kind of smart software, but also user experience at our heart. I think this is the last slide on the company timeline. But 2012, we set up the company, had this passion around user experience back then. It was called probably different things then. But we started releasing products to market. So 2017, we developed a product called Maestro. Since then, we've won innovation awards. We are part of App House. For those of you that don't know what App House is, it's a customer innovation center network from SAP, one of only 11 customers. And where I'm talking to you today from, and I can't show you the design space because we're having a Christmas party, and there's people in there playing pool, playing table tennis, and drinking beer and wine, which is it's not so much good to see on video. So yeah, this is part of our design center here, and it is an App House based in Shropshire. Okay, yeah, won't say too much more about us. You can actually, for those that are interested, you can take a virtual tour. I don't know if you're seeing this very well, but it's quite clever technology. It's like a doll's house. So you can have a look at our app house. We've got offices downstairs and a customer innovation center upstairs. So you can actually have a virtual tour if anybody's interested. It's quite a fun little application, this. Anyway, get back to it. So yeah, our services then, as I said, user experience. Today we're concentrating on cloud. Okay, so there's loads of different topics that we can go into. We'll touch on master data. I think we're going to spend about 5 minutes on that because it's important. But we're going to spend a lot of the time around what are these cloud services that actually live up in the cloud. Of course, we provide support services as well as software. So Maestro is our main software, but we've got other cloud products here. This list isn't probably up to date now. We've got another product that's coming out, but basically the strategy behind the company is it's all about the products. So we're very much moving to embedded platform as a service rather than kind of traditional consultancy and services. So we've got a number of apps. Again, you'll find these on the SAP App Center and things like that. I won't go into it too much. So I did want to just spend 5 minutes. I think I've got 5 minutes on the agenda around this. So this is App House. So I just want to explain the methodology behind it. So rather than me PowerPoint stuff, let me go to SAP App House and just quickly explain what it is. Yeah. So basically, it's customer-facing innovation, okay, working alongside SAP. Partners are now creating their own, as I said, app houses. It's part of a network. So we are part of this quite small group, and it's focused on innovation and design. So there's like lots of stuff here on who location. So we're only in the UK, we're one of 2 partners. And then the rest are, across Asia Pac and various places. But essentially, App House, you probably all read the brief around design thinking. So App House is quite interesting. It's very much design thinking, but putting human-centered design at the forefront of everything. So it's very much, some people might kind of say it's a little bit woolly, but it actually does work. Coming up with like real business problems or real social problems and fixing it using the methodology, it does work. So there's some quite cool stuff on this website. I urge you all to have a good look through it. They've got some good examples of how they've solved projects, what toolkits they actually use. And because we're part of that house, we use these toolkits as well. And they can range from different things, from physical workshops to virtual workshops. We use some quite cool software called Mural, which is basically it's virtual whiteboarding, but it has a process behind it. That's the main bit, yeah. And it's interesting. It does results. So that's all I'm going to say about App House. For those of you and companies that are thinking about innovation and human-centered design, take a look at this stuff. It's free to use, so have a look at it. We've done quite a few, and I will show you an example of what Mural looks like, just very quickly. So we'll use this in virtual workshops. And you can take some of these ideas. Obviously, you then start prototyping, you start building, you have user feedback and iterations, and you get to that kind of minimum viable product quite early on. So basically, it's about virtual whiteboarding here. As you can say, Mural is a really nice solution, just completely outside of SAP. We were playing around with an idea originally about supermarket. So my wife sent me to a supermarket, and obviously you've got to get masked up. You go into the supermarket, and like I didn't have a clue where anything was, what she was actually looking for. And what I found I was doing is obviously people are keeping distant in supermarkets, but I was having to kind of go back on myself, because I'd asked the assistant, where would I find such and such? And I was going back, and it was just becoming quite irritable, should we say, and people are very conscious about space in supermarkets, especially about Christmas time. So we used Mural to come up with ideas on how we would solve that problem. And it might sound simple to you, but the idea basically spawned from having an application. It looked like this originally, but we produced a high fidelity prototype. But Mural is a place where you can collect ideas. And the idea to solve this particular problem was, you've seen obviously some of the supermarkets, you can do all your purchasing and check out at the end. But what none of them did is a kind of sequence or a route or a route through the supermarket with where things were at the aisles, what's on the end of the gondolas and stuff like that. So this is where this idea sprung from. We produced a prototype, a high fidelity, shiny prototype, and took it to a few supermarkets. And actually their response was, that is a great idea, but our main business priority right now is actually making sure that the stock is on the shelf. But anyway, that was the way we were going to solve the problem. Clearly, nobody was interested. They might come back to us on this one. But Mural is a good place to get some interaction, get some ideas down, and you can solve or try to solve business-related problems using this software. So that's App House in a nutshell. Yeah, customer-facing innovation. Okay, so I'm probably running slightly behind already. So now we're going to talk about moving away from on-prem. Why move to cloud? Why Launchpad? So again, SAP have been quite loud in their development roadmap. They're launching a number of kind of products out there. And Vic, jump in again if I forget something obvious, but we've been doing this for quite a while, yeah? So it's all about the unified entry point for users. Yeah, so it's the one place to go. So SAP recently have taken it a step further and looked at products like, I think it's WorkZone. And it is that very much that portal platform where, if you can imagine, you've got your ERP system, you might have Ariba, you might have C4C, or even Salesforce, or another HR application. Point being, all sits on the one Launchpad as a single entry point. So yeah, just going back to Cloud Launchpad, and we'll quickly show you this. From a cost point of view, it makes sense when you start doing the numbers. From an infrastructure point of view, so typically Cloud, Fiori Launchpad, and Portal, they're services, and you normally procure them. On this particular service, I think it is per month per user, but it's quite cost effective when you do the numbers, yeah. And as I said, why? One of the main reasons for it, it's not just about ERP or SAP. You can then start putting non-SAP applications on there, or other SAP cloud solutions on there, yeah. So we're going to come back to this, and we'll show some of this stuff in a little while. So what we decided to do, and this is going back 2.5 years, a lot of people were still not so much confused, but they didn't quite understand the architecture behind the cloud. So what we decided to do is what's called PMC. So it's Partner Managed Cloud. So we purchase from SAP the portal and all the relevant services that a customer will need. We will have that contract with SAP. We will provision it then for the customer and manage it for the customer. Main reason we do that is not only is it a kind of embedded platform as a service, because we have built a lot of our own applications that are SAP and non-SAP and Fiori apps and all this sort of stuff, we can then offer that list or catalog of applications to our customers. So that was the kind of reason for it. And it seems to work. So the key points to remember, it's an SAP service that is managed by us for you. Now, what we do differently, as I say, is the intellectual property for applications like custom applications. And what we do, we include as part of that support package a number of development hours or days every month. And if you don't use it, it rolls over to month 2. And at the end of month 2, it kind of wipes us clean slate and you start again. So that's what Partner Managed Cloud is. what it looks like, and I might ask Vikash to show you some of this. It kind of looks just like the Fiori Launchpad, yeah? So again, the architecture behind it, I'll let Vic explain a little bit, but essentially you would have on here your standard Fiori apps, your custom apps. So if you can imagine, if you're running things like Enterprise Portal or SAP Fiori Launchpad, you can chuck all this in one place. But the interesting bit around it is, as I said, SAP is moving everything into that unified entry point for users. And this is what PMC gives you without the additional costs of all that other stuff that SAP are working towards. So it's, as I said, you can do some things on here. I won't show you too much sensitive information here, but I've got a timesheet information. We run timesheet and HR processes within our cloud platform. Has no integration at all to SAP HR, for example. So companies could use the PMC model to actually run applications that today might live either on third-party applications or even spreadsheets and access databases, and they can bring them all onto this platform. Because when we talk about cloud services, obviously all I'm showing you here is a Fiori Launchpad. Yeah, but what you could have behind the scenes are a number of different services that give you more capability for a customer. So say, for example, if I wanted to clean up my IT landscape and I've got lots of Excel spreadsheets or third-party applications that I can no longer make sure that's going to be supported, I can move them to this platform because there is database and user interface via these services now. There's a whole ton of services which we'll cover in a little while. Vic, have I missed anything obvious?
No, I think you have explained it very well. Probably we can explain the architecture a little bit more when we come to the applications. Sure.
Okay. So please, if anybody's got questions, just raise your hand as we go. Okay. So I mentioned these cloud services. So there are tons of SAP cloud services, and if I might share the URL and where you can see all these kind of services in there. Okay, so Vic will probably give a little bit of a demo here, putting you under pressure, Vic, because I know we haven't really rehearsed this. We thought, oh, yeah, we'll just do this. But one of the products, which is quite a nice service that you get from SAP, again, some customers go Power BI, some customers stay with their BW or business objects. But when it comes to kind of KPIs and dashboarding capabilities, Analytics Cloud is really good. And again, I think there was a bit of confusion from SAP, surprise, surprise, when it come to what you could and couldn't do. So we were set a challenge by one customer because when you read about SAP Analytics Cloud, they keep talking about S4HANA, S4 database, all this sort of stuff. So we were set a challenge by one of our customers that actually they resided on ECC, quite an old service pack, a basis level as well, and they were interested in dashboarding for finance. So we purchased the service as a trial, and we built a dashboard. And I think the dashboard consisted of how many reports, Vic? There was quite a few reports and KPIs there. I can't remember the exact number, but maybe we show that in a second, Vic. The point being, in order to visualize it, yeah, and this is from taking data out and how we did it, we can explain that, but taking it out and making it beautiful, making it insightful took days. It didn't take weeks, it took days. And we even got their finance users and we could show them how to kind of change the dashboards because it is quite intuitive. So again, there are a number of services associated with Analytics Cloud. And SAP offer the kind of different services from, dashboarding to things like the analytics and predictive. So that's part of SAP Analytics Cloud, but also this digital boardroom, which again is another additional kind of service that's required. Yeah, so very, very powerful. And we'll show a little bit of that, Vic. Are you able to show a dashboard built in Analytics Cloud?
Yep. Let me know if you are able to see my screen.
I can indeed, yeah.
Okay, so this is the dashboard which Dan was talking about. It was regarding the UK sales performance, and we started with an Excel sheet, and then we moved to HANA, created all those tables, created the different views which are used for visualizing all this data. So talking about the capability, you can see it's so dynamic that even if you can just click on one of the chunks of the donut, the whole figure and the graphs change. So that is called dynamic filtering. Even we had three different requirements. One was for the overview of the UK sales, the other was reporting based on sectors, and then customers. So you can see you can use even the page filters, and based on your choice, this particular thing gets reflected. It has a very rich visualization elements. So there are different kinds of charts where you can visualize your data in a very different way and intuitive way. There's one more capability which is based on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So based on your data, these graphs, they predict or they suggest you some of the smart insights. So they will tell you, like, for customer 19, there was a jump of this much percentage on the sales, or for customer 60, it was in the negative zone. So they give you a very different kind of analytics, and you do not have to do anything about it. It's the data and the readings and the capability of the machine learning algorithms which does that. So that's it in terms of the SAP Analytics Cloud.
And Vic, just for people listening in terms of the setup and how easy it is to do the UI, it would be fair to say the technology looks after itself. Our biggest challenge that the customer set us was actually establishing what they wanted to see.
Yeah. So once your data
to
is
explain it, we did. Sorry, Vic, I was just going to explain. Like before you got hold of the product or we ordered it, again, we run visualization sessions and prototypes with people based on literally paper prototypes, and then we turned it in high fidelity prototypes, and then you did your stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And when your data is sorted, it hardly takes a day or two to make it happen. It's just real-time graphics where you can visualize your data.
Thanks, Vic.
Cheers.
Just come back here. Yeah, so as I said, I think SAP Analytics Cloud has got quite a lot of legs. So that's one service that we think that's pretty cool, and you can do some quite nice KPI. Biggest kind of challenge around that is establishing what you actually want to see, because as quite often that we find, a lot of times things get over engineered, especially when you do that whole design thinking and you're trying to involve users, which is brilliant. End users is important, but sometimes stakeholders, what about this, what about that? And sometimes the danger is you can kind of over engineer what you're trying to simplify and put on a dashboard. So another interesting topic, we probably won't be able to show.
Sorry, Dan, I think you have a question there.
Sorry, Dan, quick question,
sure.
Dan, on that. So where did, in that scenario you said with the cloud analytics, where you said it was an old ECC6 system, where did the data reside? It didn't reside in the cloud? It resided on premise, did it?
Yeah, so Vic, to explain without mentioning the customer what you did.
Yeah, so there are different architectures based on how and where the data is. So for ECC, they were generating a file every morning, and based on that Excel file, this particular dashboard was being created. So for that, we had to do some infrastructure changes, like we had to install this SAP Analytics Cloud agent on their network, and from there, data was coming to HANA Cloud, and then we were consuming it on the dashboard.
So the data always stayed within the customers.
Always stayed on-prem, yeah. But obviously we're extracting it to visualize it.
Yeah.
But it would never sit in the cloud.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a kind of it's quite an interesting point, because SAP don't really tell you that. They tell you that you've got to be on a HANA database and things like that. But as Vic said, there are ways around it, which, you know, at the time, it was the reason why we liked the challenge is because we've not really dealt with that, you know, ECC scenario, and people wanted to take the data out and visualize it. So it was an interesting one, and it works. That was the really nice thing about it. And we're not talking, as I say, it took days to do the visualization. It took longer to find out what the customer actually wanted to put on the dashboard. So yeah, it's all good. Now, the other interesting product that we like is still, I wouldn't say it's in its infancy, but we do quite a lot of work with a particular Danish brewer around what's called CPI and API, so Cloud Platform Integration. So how I explain it to people is it's almost like you replacing your old PI and PO process orchestration, IDOC type stuff, and then you kind of move into the cloud to do that consumption and transformation of data. So it's really new, I would say. There's a lot of people that are actually using it, but I you know, if I'm being brutally honest with you, the amount of consultants out there that have knowledge, I would say, quite rare. We're fortunate in enough that we've worked with this for a while, and we've got some consultants that have kind of not learned from the ground up, because they've come from a kind of, you know, traditional IDOC introduced into cloud, and then using CPI and API quite extensively now. So different cost models, again, I'm sure some of you guys will be familiar with it. I was planning to do a little demo of it today, but I can't because one of my guys is on holiday. So what I will do is point you guys to videos on our website where we'll do some little demos of CPI and how you do the transformation of data, because it's different. It's different the way that you can visualize the mappings. So you're taking, you know, data from these fields, transforming it and passing it across to these fields. So it's an interesting area. Again, I won't go through the detail or talk to you about the content on this slide, but I can tell you from the horse's mouth, like we've done a lot of work in this area now, and I always ask the question, where are the gaps with the products? But according to the team that have previously come from more IDOC or EDI background, there are no gaps, and the functionality is growing more and more. So it is a very interesting product that I think is going to gain more and more legs over the months. It's got quite a big development roadmap on it as well. So it is interesting stuff. And so when you consider whether you're SAP or non-SAP, this, you know, you don't have to be an SAP house. You could just use CPI to integrate non-SAP to non-SAP. So it is meant to be kind of, you know, agnostic in a sense. And then lastly, another interesting service, when you start, we'll come to the Fury client at the very end, but when you start considering offline capability, mobile services is an interesting concept. So I won't go through whether you want to build iOS or Android native applications. That's a given. But if you're just building your traditional SAP UI5 applications and you're going to be reliant on 3G, 4G, or Wi-Fi, if you're going to be using these on kind of mobile devices. If you need to go offline, then this is where mobile services kick in. Yeah, so again, it's a subscription type service. makes life a little bit easier than what used to happen. You used to have to do all sorts to get offline applications. But the good thing about mobile services, it's got other stuff in there as well. So another UI that we've used for other customers are mobile cards. So again, it's a different UI. Vic, I don't know if you've got anything to show, but if you have, maybe we'll maybe show some of that stuff. But probably the more relevant one is around push notifications. So obviously in the Fury world, you'll get notifications when you're on a desktop. But if you can imagine, if you're on a mobile phone, when you get those types of notifications that come up on whatever phone you're on, you need mobile services to do that type of stuff. Now, again, when customers ask us for things like offline and push notifications, we'll challenge it, yeah, because everybody sometimes think they definitely need offline. Well, unless you're at the bottom of the sea or at the bottom of some mine in the middle of nowhere, you probably don't need offline capability. And it's the same with push notifications. There are other ways to skin a cat. But mobile services is quite an understated service that's in SAP. Vic, I don't know if we've got anything to show, but if not, I'm gonna pass on that one, and we'll get on to the other areas where we can show around HANA Cloud.
No, Dan, we do not have anything as of now.
I picked on the wrong guy, the one that's gone on holiday. Okay, we'll come on to something interesting now then, or more interesting, I think. So yeah, we would position this service within the cloud platform. For me, I would say if I'm in charge of kind of whether it's SAP or IT applications, this is really interesting. So obviously cloud platform, it's that agility layer that you get. I won't go through all this, that's why people are listening in, but it gives us this kind of flexibility. Now previously, before HANA Cloud, there would always be an issue, oh, okay, if I need to store data there, where am I going to put it? And really, before kind of the database layer lived in the cloud, you just use the cloud for the UI. So you're taking data out of your on-prem, you visualize it in the cloud, and it interacts, and that's it. Data would never stay there. Whereas now there are a number of services that live in the cloud platform where it's a database management. So you can hold data, you can do whatever you want. You can have integration to SAP, non-SAP. Yeah, so it's very, very kind of powerful stuff. And interestingly, what we have done, and Vic, you might be showing this, I'm not sure, but what we have done at Bluestonex, we run basically our consulting practice in a HANA Cloud. So I'm not talking about ERP, I'm talking about a standalone cloud built on HANA with a Fury UI5 front end. And the reason why this is quite appealing, as I said, like some companies, you want integration. So you're going to build the link between your ERP, whether it's S4 or ECC6, and maybe have the UI and some services up here that's augmenting what you've got there. But other people, they might look at HANA Cloud because they want to strip away all this noise that they've got in their landscape. Yeah, so Access, Microsoft Access, Excel spreadsheets, third-party applications that are kind of going to become defunct. So loads of reasons why, but for us, why we like it, it enables you to keep your core clean. So you look at examples such as, you know, you want to do a big piece of maybe bespoke development that doesn't actually reside in core ERP. We can build it now in the SAP Cloud. You can integrate if you want into certain aspects of it, but it just gives you more flexibility. Yeah. So as I said, dependencies on databases, file systems, but importantly, again, if you're looking at that unified entry point, yeah, and having a consistent view from an employee point of view, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. So what we're going to show you now is a little bit. It's called HANA Cloud. What was the other version called, Vic? Was it Cloud Services 2.0 or something? I can't remember.
No, it was just HANA Services on Neo.
HANA Services on Neo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they have the successor called HANA Cloud.
HANA Cloud, yeah. So again, Vic, it might be worth just talking about the architecture in a second. About obviously you've got Neo, and again, me being not the most technical person in the world, Neo in my simple brain means I live in an SAP data center. Cloud Foundry, which is the alternative, which is I'm still SAP software, but I might just be residing on a hyperscale, an Amazon, a Google data center. Yeah. And what we have now is this concept or application studio and Cloud Foundry as well, which Vic, maybe you want to say a couple of things about that.
Yep. So do you want me to tell now or during the architecture diagrams?
If you've got an architecture in this slide, which maybe we have, because I said I'm winging it, we'll come back to it. But the point is, as I was saying, we manage the whole consulting practice via HANA Cloud. Like if I was to try and go out and purchase as a company a software package to do this, A, it would cost us a lot of money, and secondly, it's not going to really give me what I was looking for because it's a little bit unique what we do. But we build a number of applications in UI5, and as I said, our database layer is HANA Cloud. So Vic's going to show a little bit of this, but as you can see here, these are our examples, and what we've actually done, we're actually reselling these. Yeah, because there are other companies out there that don't want to spend a fortune on some, like success factors or something like that. This is pretty much doing a lot of that stuff. Obviously, the only one that is a little bit specific to us is I've got some SAP Analytics Cloud reports that actually tells me who's being utilized on what projects and what the billing rate, per customer is and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but the rest of it, managing your team, managing customers, managing projects, timesheets, leave requests. There are a bunch of applications here, all live Fury Cloud, but they're using a HANA database in the back end. These are just examples here, such as timesheets. Again, this could actually be integrated back into ERP if we had an ERP. Yeah, so again, for small to medium businesses that perhaps don't want to commit to even SAP HR or SuccessFactors, this is a great alternative. So you can see the UI is really nice. It's built on some Fury standards. But yeah, and again, we're using SAC for this. Thank you. Got a cup of tea. Vic, over to you. I'll let you demo some stuff.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Come in. Yeah, can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So these applications are bundled into employee self-service and manager self-service applications, groups, sorry. And the basic application, the first app which we wanted to get rid of Excel sheets was our timesheet. So we started this for us, for our use. And then we had, similarly, when we stopped this, when we finished this, we wanted to digitalize our leave request as well. So for this, we have a kind of form wherein you can go and, sorry, wrong dates, because I'm already on holiday. So you can choose the range, you can configure your leaves, whether you need a half day or a full day, confirm it. You can put your comments, and this particular approval will go to my manager. There is a small leave calendar as well, wherein you can see the bank holidays as well as the leaves I have booked, and a small analytics wherein it says that how many days I have booked, what is my quota, annual quota, and how much is the balance. And lastly, we have a small table which says how many leaves I have taken on what date. And obviously, you can filter it based on approved or rejected ones, and even the requested ones.
Vic, can you show how you go about the database if you are going to show some of that stuff? Because that might be of interest to people. What we do in the UI really is based on Fury design guidelines, but obviously it has been tailored for us. Guidelines are there. We try and follow them. But if I don't like them, I break them. I'll be honest with you. At the end of the day, it's a business decision. But what Vic's showing you here is all of that data. It's actually living in HANA. We could integrate it back into ERP, but what we're showing you here just to get across the whole thought process around, if you're trying to clean up your landscape, maybe remove some peripheral systems, remove access, databases, and Excel spreadsheets, this is a very cost-effective way of doing it.
Yeah, so when you buy the service called SAP HANA on Neo, you get different tools associated with it. Catalogs where you create all your database tables, editors where you create all the scripts, SQL scripts. I'll show you some of the tables here. So for example, for our timesheet application, we have a schema wherein we have different tables like clients, bank holidays, for example, which shows up in the timesheet while you're booking your time. And we have different projects. You can pretty much see every data over here if you have the admin rights, obviously. And when your tables are created here, then you go into your editor where you do your SQL scripting and do all those logic, business logic here. The good thing about this is this sits with HANA. So all the calculations and everything gets faster. And when each and every service is done, it gets exposed via XS OData services. And that gets consumed into the UI5 or SAP applications, wherein we create our UI. So all these things coming from the database, which we created in HANA service. And obviously UI is just for visualization.
Vic, question for you.
Yeah.
While I forget, obviously that's the database structure, so it needs a little bit of thought about how you're structuring the database, right? And it needs a specific skill associated with it. But then the UI bit, in terms of we're using predominantly Web IDE. Is that right to do the UI bit?
Yeah, that's good.
Do you want to just quickly show a little bit of that, because that is probably more so database management, when I look at that, is more technical, whereas Web IDE, yeah, there is some, what you see is what you get, drag and drop type framework, but different skills involved in these technologies, Vic, is it?
Yeah. So for front end, obviously, since we are using Fiori guidelines, we use SAP UI5, which is the implementation technology of Fiori. But for databases, we use XS.js, which is a JavaScript, kind of a JavaScript based on the XS engine on HANA, if I talk technically. So it's another form of JavaScript where we just do the SQL scripting. I think it will take some time to load.
When it's loaded, we'll come back to it, Vic.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, it is. Here we go.
But otherwise,
in a demo.
Once you have your database structures ready and the service is ready, it just gets consumed in the UI5 applications. And since you have the data, it becomes easy to create any UI based on that. But just talking in general, if you start with UI first, then you have to do some mock data first, and that takes a bit of time for development. If we go database first and then UI, then it becomes easy. So for prototyping, obviously we use pen and paper and then some high fidelity prototypes in Photoshop or anything. But when we start development, we start with database and then we move to UI because that actually speeds up the process.
Unlike Web IDE.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that while that's loaded. So Vic, if I just share my screen again.
Yeah.
So just in terms of the architecture when it comes to HANA DB, Vic, so just let's explain how a company would go about doing this. So if I just kind of summarize in layman terms what we would do, So customer says to us, we've got a bunch of databases we'd like to strip out, put on the Fiori Launchpad. First thing we do is procure the services from SAP, which consist of typically SAP Cloud Platform portal, identity management, and HANA DB.
Yeah, that's it.
And then what does the customer on their side then, the only thing that they're doing, is it just the cloud connector?
No, for HANA database, since it is already in cloud, we do not need any connector. So it's just available on internet. If you have right authorizations, obviously, then you can access it.
So you don't even, you're only putting in cloud connector then if you're connecting to an on-prem system, right?
Yep. Anything which is not exposed to internet and you have some firewall in between, then you need it.
Yeah. So again, like the architecture services here is probably 3 services then, right? We've got HANA DB, which again is based on storage and I think number of visits. Portal, which is based on number of users and number of visits. And ID management, which is per tenant, isn't it, Vic? Is that right?
I think it's how many users you need. So it's bundled on users, number of users.
Yeah. But again, like comparing this with an on-prem database, and again, it's all about rapid innovation, and it is very cost effective. I'll show you how you can work out costs and stuff like that later.
Yeah, and the best part is, I mean, you're keeping your code clean. You're not doing anything in your code just for innovation.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. So I'm not saying this is the right scenario, but if you were cleaning up your IT landscape, but then you're also wanting to kind of innovate and integrate to your ERP, well, instead of doing a lot of Z within your ERP, you can then start using and utilizing HANA Cloud. It's an interesting concept. There ain't a huge amount of people that are actually doing it because again, I just don't think SAP have done an incredibly good job of marketing what's available and what you can do with it. But that's my honest, probably a little bit more cynical opinion. Okay, yeah. So just leading on from that. So another product that we've got is, here it says vendor self-service, but where we're actually trying to go with this is business partner self-service portal. Yeah, so imagine a place, customers, you guys, I'm sure you guys have it today, right? You've got a place where a vendor or a customer will go and they'll load some data up there, right? But we're using HANA Cloud for this, and the main reason why it's brilliant is because the UI will be consistent, following the guidelines that you set out within your corporation. You can do all that branded stuff and all that type of stuff. It's secure, so there's no problem when it comes to security. Everything's kind of encrypted. You've got 2-factor authentication, all that sort of stuff. But for business partners, especially, if you are consuming that data from the cloud back into your environment, then there are things like these API services you can call. So say, for example, you were doing onboarding of vendors. You can validate the data in the cloud even before it gets to you. Yeah, so there are a number of APIs out there, addresses, postcode, IBAN, Dun & Bradstreet, all lots of different things that you can validate that's going to add real value. Some of these API services are really cost effective as well. You're talking pence per call. You buy bundles of them again. So it's just brilliant. So this is why quite a few months ago, we decided, right, this is what we're going to do. So we have this solution called Maestro. We've got this business partner that's got all this functionality around APIs, and it's growing. It's got its own little roadmap on there. So vendors, we said, well, me as a vendor, when I'm getting remittance advices from our customers, I'm always having to chase them. Why can't I have a portal where I can go in and see when, what's getting paid, when's getting paid, remittance advices and such like. So it's real powerful system. And as I said, you can have it standalone or you can integrate it with SAP. How we're positioning the portal is you integrate it back into SAP, but then you have Maestro, which is our data solution in SAP, gatekeeping what comes in. So it's not actually going to go in and just update records, because that would just be madness. You've got to have a gatekeeper there to, again, workflow it around, get some approvals, get some further validations done. So that whole portal and HANA Cloud is perfect. Yeah, but as I said, that's probably a meatier chunk. Look at the HANA Cloud from I'm simplifying my landscape, I'm keeping my core clean. So it's an interesting concept. We've done the demo already, Beck. Or was I intending to show vendor self-service? I don't think so. Anyway, all right, well, come on. Yeah, so that leads us on to master data services. Again, I won't go too much into the detail here because it's not really about me pushing products that we produce at Maestro, but within Bluestonex. But the point being, yeah, Maestro is a master data governance solution that lives in a core ERP. Therefore, all the integration's already there. It's got its own business rules, workflow, and all that stuff. Now, again, we have used HANA Cloud to do some of this stuff. Okay, so we've launched a couple of Maestro products that live predominantly in HANA Cloud for doing things like health checks. So we can extract data to HANA Cloud and we can do some churn of data. By the way, the HANA Cloud is a private cloud. It's not a public cloud. Yeah, it's all per customer, because then you get into too many awkward situations around security and GDPR. So we have a product, Maestro, which lives in core ERP. It does all this kind of data checks, but as we are using Ditto, I think one. So this is a duplicate check. So what this will do, it will extract customer and vendor information, and it will run some algorithms, and it will tell you these are potential duplicates. Yeah, and then that can flow down into Maestro to set off workflows and stuff like that. So again, another reason for HANA Cloud, you can do some quite powerful algorithms very quickly during runtime. Same with health checks on data. How many records have been created, changed, extended over time, by whom, across what material groups. So some powerful stuff that you can do here. Yeah, and as I said, Maestro, our product, which I'm not going to go through now, is all about governance, workflow, keeping your data clean, but keeping your data clean as it comes through its life cycle. And I won't go through this because I'm running out of time. I'm not intending to show you. All I will show you is the Launchpad. And again, let me just do the right thing and brand it. Yeah, so Maestro kind of looks a little bit like this. So Maestro is about users coming in and creating requests for new products, new bill of materials, customers, vendors, whatever it is. It lives in SAP, so you can request pretty much everything. And then Maestro is a framework to send off workflow and all that sort of stuff. But we augment the product using SAP Cloud Platform UI, but also the HANA DB. And we're using things like Portal and things like that. But why I like it is I can do a little bit more fancy things around analytics, for example. So I can see what's being requested by whom over a period of time. And with Maestro, I can also track SLAs around what's early, what's late. So just from an ongoing governance point of view, I'm guaranteeing that my data is correct, but more importantly, I can track my processes associated with data. That's what Maestro is about. And I'm going to move on. Right, this I think is quite interesting. So a lot of people, you've probably heard the noise about Qualtrics. I can't remember how much SAP paid when they did the acquisition of Qualtrics. I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, but Qualtrics actually started off in the kind of academia space to do with research facilities and universities. And again, I'm really doing an injustice of the product when I say this, because the product's awesome. But if I were explaining it, I would say it's like SurveyMonkey on steroids with SAC, visualization, dashboards, all that type of stuff. Now, it's harsh, but that's how I would summarize it, if we weren't getting too technical. So SurveyMonkey, let's send out a survey and get some really powerful insights. And then once we've got that information back, whether it's our customers, our employees, or information based on our brand, we'll bring it back and we'll visualize it. And it's going to tell me a lot more than what I'd get on a typical survey. That's what Qualtrics is for me. Vic, anything to add?
No, Dan, that's it.
So I was harsh then. I was harsh on Qualtrics, never mind. So yeah, there is a big marketing push here, but I suppose, I don't know, I'm probably being a little bit overly critical again when I say, I think there are 5 pillars to Qualtrics. Vic, you might correct me if I get this wrong, because I'm doing this, I'm literally winging it from what I remember now, from when we started playing around with the product. So we use this product, okay, by the way, so we're an advocate of it, but it's built on 5 pillars: employee, customer, brand, product. What was the other one, Vic?
And just the core experience management. So anything.
Experience management. So I got it pretty close then. That's not bad, to be fair. So yeah, the reason why we use it is because we want to do surveys on the products that we build, but also we're interested in measuring user experience and data. Yeah. So again, I come back to that Maestro. We want to almost use Qualtrics to get an insight, or help customers get an insight on where they've got gaps in their data governance and data quality. And the same on user experience, because we're a user experience consultancy. We want to see where a customer has problems with user experience. Yeah, but Qualtrics is all about customer experience, as I say. And typically, where it sits nicely in my little brain is if I'm a business to consumer and I want to get some feedback on my products, you know, whether it's reviews on Amazon or whatever, I can collect it. It can use some intelligence, but the powerful thing is the KPIs and the dashboarding and the insight capability. So that's what Qualtrics is. We'll show you some stuff. We've got one. We've got our own Qualtrics environment where we do some user experience scoring. And Vic, I'm gonna put you again under the pressure and say, show them what you did before, Vic.
Yeah. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so what we started doing was we wanted to know what is the current state of the user experience of applications which we develop, or even before that. So if somebody is doing some work on a business application, what is his or her experience? So we came up with a kind of a survey, bunch of questions. At this time, I'll just show you what all options are there. So you can have, in a survey, you can have multiple choice questions or just text entry where a user can type in any descriptive thing, ranking orders, and there are many other things like net promoter score, highlighting whether you like or dislike, heat maps and everything. So we came up with this survey, which actually measures different areas of user experience. We categorize it into 4 parts. This is how the survey looks on a desktop, and this is how it looks on mobile phone. And then some questions. The app helps me to reach my goal in few steps. I agree. Behind each response, we have coded a certain value, like positives and negatives. And based on that, we generate a score out of 5, which tells us how good or bad the UX is. So I'll quickly jump to that dashboard. So what happens is when we create this survey, we distribute it, and then we analyze the responses. And for that, we have a dashboard wherein we read all these responses, and obviously that automatically gives you a picture of how the user experience is. Just a minute.
And again, Vic, while we're waiting for the dashboard, it's fair to say that user experience, nobody will be measuring user experience. It's neither here nor there, really. But what we're doing, we're capturing either consumer or employee data and their feelings. This is a framework to produce your own questionnaire, and it's very much what you see is what you get, drag and drop. So there is practically no code behind it, right?
Yep, there is no code. It's just drag and drop. Again, you have different UI elements. It's just how you actually visualize your numbers. So to visualize this number, which is obviously between 1 and 5, I just used a donut, which specifically says like where I am with respect to the UX. We have categorized it in different categories like ease of use, range of use, and others. So even those categories, we are visualizing it differently. And just going deeper into insights, we are actually visualizing every question, like app facilitates orientation through a uniform design. Almost 83% people said that they strongly agree. So in terms of all the categories, we are actually going till that last point, like the questions, individual questions. And then this score comes up. So it gives you a better understanding of how the UX is, the current UX is. But obviously we cannot measure that, but we just have an idea of how people think about the applications.
Yeah. So what we're planning to do, obviously we've got our own selfish view of the world. So we're creating our own data insights. So literally saying to customers, fill in this questionnaire. It's going to give you some ideas on where you need to start with your kind of data governance, data processes. But if I'm being, again, brutally honest with you, it's the Qualtrics itself is very much tailored for business to consumer or employees. So, running surveys from a HR department to gain insight from how employees are feeling about certain things. That's in, again, this is my personal opinion, so I need to caveat everything I'm saying. But that's what my gut tells me. This is where this product kind of works really nicely. But it's powerful, Vic, isn't it? Again, you had a couple of hours training on this, and then fiddled around with it for a few hours, and away you went.
True.
So my headphones run out, by the way. That's what I'm putting in the way. Yeah, so that is Qualtrics. It's cool. It's a good tool, but you can use it across lots and lots of interesting places. Like I said, external, internal to your customer. Again, it's cloud-based spec, right? So you literally have your own kind of tenant when you sign up to Qualtrics. So we're part of that Qualtrics network now. It is an interesting product. We couldn't, again, I'm probably speaking out of school, we couldn't quite work out initially what the fuss was with Qualtrics, and I'll be honest, I still can't work out. SAP do such a good job of marketing it, but again, if I just relay what I thought it was and what I still think it is, it's like SurveyMonkey on steroids, where you can say, if you answer this, then put these questions to the employee, but then it's that whole visualization and how you can get that insights based on dashboards and KPIs. It is cool. It's cool, but you've got to think about the surveys and the questions that you're putting in. It won't just magically do this stuff for you. Okay, right. I'm pretty much on time here, actually. Right, so we're looking across the hall from me, making sure that my next little demo is going to work. Mr. Barnfield, are you there? I think we're going to be talking about
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if anyone else heard that. I think Dan's mic's gone. It's laggy and cutting up a bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. So Kyle, maybe we'll come back to this, but just be completely open and honest with people about what this solution is, what benefit you can get from it. I know some of the customers on the call probably using it anyway, but just kind of break it down into terms that I understand, so we make sure everybody else is on the same page.
Yeah, so basically this Slipstream and Screen Personas are basically the same product. It's a free add-on for your ECC or S/4HANA systems in the back end. You simply install it and then the services are available in your SICF transaction. So it just sits in the back end, it's free from SAP. And all it allows you to do is render your standard GUI transactions that you would usually do for your GUI logon pad into the web browser. And then take it one step further and actually edit the screen of that transaction without actually affecting the back-end transaction. So I could go into a transaction.
Share your screen, Kyle, just so people can see it, unless they are.
No, I was just explaining this. Yeah, I'll bring it up now. Come on.
But again, Kyle, just before you get straight into the demo, why I think this is a really cool product. One, it's free. Two, I can do it, and that's pretty unusual. But the third bit is you can integrate what you build here on that Fiori Launchpad. Yeah. So again, it's that unified entry point. So you might have transactions that are fairly simple, but you want a consistent UI. So you can give it that Fiori look and feel within minutes. Some of it is completely no code. So I'll let you show now, Kyle, and I'll shut up.
Yeah, so as I was saying before, it's literally rendering your GUI transactions in the web browser. So you can see here, depending or not whether you use a newer version of GUI now, this is exactly what SAP GUI looks like if you're using a newer version of SAP GUI. If not, it will look slightly different. But you can see here, this is just my S-Pen transaction, my logon pad. It's just in the web browser.
Kyle, if and when the guys and the folks on the call move to S/4HANA, it's going to look like that, isn't it?
Well, the GUI would look like this, yes.
Yeah.
It's just This is the SAP Belize theme, and newer versions of SAP GUI also use this theme. It's just the SAP's Fiori theme going forward. So what I was saying before about it being able to edit the transaction. So if I was going to go for VAO1, for example, if it'll go, yeah. So what is it down? Is it SO, SR?
OR.
OR, yeah. Okay.
The beauty of Screen Personas is it will only behave just like SAP GUI. So if you key something in wrong, you're going to get an error message.
Yeah. So this is literally VAO1 in the web browser, exactly as it was behaving GUI, all the standard messages, all the standard functionality. And then what you do is you create something called a flavor, which is basically a copy of the screen. And it will go into this screen editor here. And you can see now I've got complete control, and I can go ahead and I can do things such as hide tabs, move fields, and you can really start to rapidly turn these complex backend transactions into simple applications. And because you're using Slipstream, you're rendering it in the same code language used for SAP Fiori apps and SAP UI5 apps, which then ties into what Dan was saying earlier, where you can implement everything onto the Fiori Launchpad and everything would be consistent. And a user wouldn't know whether he was using an SAP UI5 app or a Slipstream app. So if I was going to go ahead now, and for example, if I just wanted to get rid of a load of fields here, and I only wanted these fields, I can go ahead, I can hide them, I can move them around. And also the beauty of this is it's all responsive as well. So I've got the ability to render my GUI transactions on a mobile device, which is, it's a pretty big deal when you come to think of some of the use cases that using your GUI on the mobile could provide.
So, I know that some of you out there are already using this, and you can, again, right, so just to explain the technology, you've got SAP UI5, okay, which typically requires OData services to pull the data, and then you've got the UI5 layer on top, okay? And then you've got Slipstream UI5, which basically, again, I'll explain it in my simple language. It's like web GUI with a skin on top of it. And you can do mobile, you can do everything on there. And what we do, we mix the both together because they're all designed in the same layout and design. We mix the two together. The users don't know actually what they're using. And it comes down to case by case. What do I use? Which technology when, right? So as an example, we have this little diagram. I think it's on our website, Kyle, isn't it? But basically, the first thing you ask is there a standard UI5 Fury app available? You look in the catalog. Yeah, there's one applicable. You download it. You consume it. The next question would be, okay, well, I need to make little modifications to that UI5 application. So again, you look at the extendability of that application. Can I do it or not? Yes. If you can't, typically you'll go for a custom UI5. But probably before all that, so people are obsessed by doing all that. But one of the first things you need to ask yourself is, does the back-end transaction actually give me what I need? It just looks a bit crap. And sorry for the language, by the way, but does it look a little bit, old school? Well, if so, that's the perfect place for this. Yeah. So people sometimes get a little bit obsessed and will spend a lot of time and money developing UI5 applications, whereas actually this is quite a nice way to solve a problem. Sorry, Carl.
Yeah, you basically just said what I was going to say.
So show us an example. I don't know if you have in this box. Show us a mobile flavor.
I don't think I've got a mobile one in this specific box. We've got LM50 maybe. I don't think I've got data for this one. But you can see here that it's basically sized for a mobile device. Yes. So we typically build for mobile first. So we'll build with the if you build with the ideal of mobile first, you find yourself forcing to make decisions of getting rid of fields that you initially thought were necessary, but after taking the approach of, okay, well, if I need it, where will it fit on a mobile device? You'll decide that it wasn't very necessary for your process, and it really just, if you design for mobile first rather than desktop, it really does strip back all the unnecessary junk from your transaction and leave you with a simple, straightforward, intuitive design. So for example, in this transaction, originally we probably had things like the SKU, the unit of measure, all unnecessary things like that, and we've gone ahead and we've stripped it back to the very bare minimum. What am I doing in this transaction? I'm standing in a storage bin, I'm scanning at an SU, and then I'm putting something away. So it's stripped back to the bare minimum.
So again, so for those that don't know, this is a warehouse transaction. The standard screens are cluttered. This is before, in the old days, when I used to be kind of warehouse consultant, we used to have to go in and get an ABAPer to change things. Now this is just, it's perfect. So this is one of the hidden gems of SAP. The beauty of this solution is you integrate it into your cloud platform. That's the trick, and that's not what many people are doing. They'll have one entry point here, another entry point for Fury, bring it together in the cloud platform, along with these other applications that are for maybe HANA Cloud that have got nothing to do with SAP. Yeah, so that is the whole point. These cloud services are all built on what Kyle's showing there, and the screen personas. That's an on-prem service that you utilize through the portal service in the cloud. Yeah, you bring it all together in the cloud. Now, if you've got on-prem Fury, you'd do the same. You'd bring what you've built there in Slipstream, along with your UI5 apps, onto your on-prem. But in our experience, it works better via the cloud platform, a lot less hassle. Kyle, just explain the architecture then. So I think you mentioned this is just a service that you activate in the back-end system.
Yeah, so if you share your screen and go back to the diagram in the PowerPoint, might just help visualize it a bit better.
Okay.
Yeah, so as I was saying, it's a free add-on deployed in the back end. This architecture, it's an example of the two different routes you can take. You can see on the left-hand side, you've got the entry point for the user. The middle section is whether you're on-prem or cloud and going for a Launchpad. And then the right-hand side is the slipstream components that are located in the back end. Now, you could get to these multiple ways. You can see there, you've got the back end, the ACC, the big P, that's where Persona sits in your back end. You can either render that just straight from the back end, expose it to the web services and just do it straight in the back end. So all you need is that little back end DCC square. Or if you're embedding it to an on-prem Fiori Launchpad, then you go the top route where you just import it, you call the slipstream components from the back end via a trusted connection from your front end system. And then it's the same principle for the cloud. You create a trusted connection between the cloud and your back end, and then you call the components from the back end and render. So everything.
Just one myth that I'm going to mention now is everybody thinks, I've said this for about 4 years, everybody thinks when they go to S4HANA that they're just going to get apps, UI5 applications. If you go greenfield, vanilla, S4, you'll get hundreds, if not into the 1,000 UI5 applications. If you're doing a kind of migration, it is likely that you will be having practically zero. Okay, so one of the biggest adopters of Slipstream is actually S4HANA customers. So that tells you a lot, doesn't it? So again, it's a hidden gem. I know some of you use it. And yeah, well done for using it, but you're one of very few. But yeah, Slipstream or Screen Personas, brilliant. It's a hidden gem. It's one of the little gems that nobody really knows about. Okay, finally, guys, because I'm going to keep us on track here, because it's time for a beer, because everybody in there is having their Christmas party and we're going through this. But I'm being professional. So lastly then, custom client. I won't go through this too much, but basically SAP released an OSS note. Kyle, Vic, jump in here. And what they're saying is that the Fiori client will no longer be updated on the app stores. SAP are recommending that people use web browser because web browser technology becoming more and more kind of, on point, or create a custom client. Okay, so again, like it's down to choice, whatever customers do. But if you are using the Fiori clients for mobile and tablet devices at the moment, you'll need to think about this. I'm not saying you need to do anything, but at some point you're going to encounter a problem. So you either go web browser or a custom client. And I think it's fair to say from a user experience point of view, we would probably recommend a custom client. For a number of reasons, you can see down the bottom. But again, just to break down the myths, in my experience, a client on a mobile, where you download a client and run it rather than through the browser on the phone, you're going to get more real estate on the phone, and it's going to seem a little bit more slicker, a better user experience, in my opinion. But there are other softer benefits, I guess. Offline capability, push notifications, vibrations. You want to utilize some of the native functionality you've got on a mobile phone. The camera thing, which you would think that would be an obvious one, you're going to be able to get that through the web browser, through a web browser anyway, right, Kyle, Vic? So that's not so much an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why we're saying you need to watch out for it. I'm not saying you need to do anything, because you'll still be able to run stuff for a period of time, but you're going to have to make a decision if you go web browser or custom client. I'm talking about typically for mobile or tablet. Yeah. Now, what we are planning to do is create our own custom client for free, and people will be able to download it. Customers will contact us and be able to download it. It's going to be a copy of the Fiori client, but it's going to have a few additional benefits in there. Anything else, Kyle, Vic, that we need to mention about the Fury client?
No, it's just the obvious ones that they're dropping it from all the Apple Store, the Apple iStore, the Google Play Store. They're dropping it from that. So the only way to access it and it going forward is to specifically request it from SAP, which probably will lead to being unsupported because they're not going to be developing it further. Or like Dan said, create a custom client.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how you guys manage your mobile device policies and stuff, but theoretically, you could take a client that we produce or create your own clients. You'll have your own little branded logo. People would download that from the trusted, corporate store, like a lot of customers do. But keep an eye on it. It's not going to be too pressing yet. But come February, March time, I think that's what the dates were. Kyle, is it? Well, maybe we send out the actual note that come with it. Just need to be aware of it, I think. That's it. I'm not going to go through the rest because we ain't got time. Because I've left us with 5 minutes. Look at that, brilliant. So yeah, hopefully there's a lot of stuff in there, but the point is in cloud. If I just come back to my browser. If you go and have a look in the Discovery Center, Cloud Services, okay. See that Christmas party was overdue there. I had to put it to sleep. Point being, in here, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, so all we've really done is pick out the ones that we see as like no-brainers. Yeah, there are tons of other exciting stuff in here, and next year we've got, as I said, quite a large and extensive product roadmap. We're into things like the whole predictive machine learning, especially around just simple things like warehouse management. Instead of me creating a count of what to go out into the warehouse and count, let AI tell me how to do that. So we've got our fingers in a lot of pies. Same with IoT. A lot of these services on there. And again, I'm probably being a little bit harsh to SAP. They put them on here. They've got quite a lot of holes in. So we've kind of picked out some ones that we think people don't shout about a lot, but are really good. But as you can see here, there is hundreds of things in here. Go and have a look. There's some interesting stuff in there. Workflow is the other one that we were going to talk about, by the way, but yeah, probably didn't get a chance to fit it in. Oh, by the way, this is quite an interesting one. Usage data management. I might as well plug it now. So people using Fury today, or Fury UI5 apps, I'm always quite interested in what app is being used, why, by whom, at what time. Kyle, have you got it? Have you got it there? Just show it, because I think this is a classic gap in the cloud platform or on-prem. I know there are solutions out there, but this is an obvious one. Tell me from I just want to manage my licenses properly. Who's using what device, what browser, what application, and how many times have they been using it? So can one of you guys just quickly show it in about 30 seconds what we developed? Because I think this is it's on the App Store, Kyle, right?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is on the App Store. So again, when we talk about monitoring and all that stuff, all this stuff is inbuilt into ECC and S4. But when it comes down to apps, especially if you've got a Fury front end, who's doing what across what browser? So this is quite an interesting tracker that's got, you can see there by app, by user, and you can drill into it and all that sort of stuff. So you're going to need to think about that as you move more and more into this kind of mobile application space. This isn't, by the way, what it isn't is mobile device management. It could be, but it's not. This is just tracking who's using what. Yeah, because again, I'm just thinking commercially from a user point of view, I need to manage my licenses. Yeah, as a business, that's what I used to do. So it's a useful little app. Have a look at it on the App Store for those of you that are interested in it. Okay, that was it. Sorry, I've rushed around the houses doing lots of different things, lots of different topics. We'll probably do another one of these when we've got a couple of the other guys back to talk about integration. I know data services and some of the Fury tool stuff, which again is a more rapid way to build UI5 applications. But hopefully people find that of interest. And if not, sorry about that, but sorry you wasted an hour and a half listening to us lot. But yeah, that's it. That is it. Has anybody got any questions, folks? Or please reach out to us. Contact details are here. Go to the website. There's tons of stuff on there about some of the cloud services that we offer. But yeah, that's it.
Thanks so much, Dan and team. That was great. Thank you.
Good to hear. No problem. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will close the call. No problem.
Cheers.
And just lastly, everybody, have a great Christmas. And yeah, we'll speak soon. We'll run another one of these, maybe on some different topics. I've recorded this. I'll probably put it out on LinkedIn as well. So cheers. Have a good one.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.